the return of MJF, best kept secret in all of contracts.
Then he shows the tattoo to show you that he was truly loyal to Tony Khan. Okay.
This kid is oozing star power.
She won the TBS title, whatever that title is.
Where have we gone, Tom?
Clubhouse, what is this? What are we, 12 years old? What, you got a dartboard?
I'm telling you, that is an investment that they are second guessing every single week. What is good, universe? Welcome into your pro wrestling story time show. We like to call it Behind the Turnbuckle. Between me and Big Tommy C, over 45 years inside of the WWE. Normally, most weeks, we're going to have an interview, but we always discuss surrounding it, what's going on in the world of pro wrestling. And Tommy, I thought this week we'd take a little break because I want to kind of talk about stars. Now, we have DDP coming up next week. Can't wait for that. Yep. But so much has happened in the last 7 days that we need to discuss that never would have happened back in our day, as we like to say, during the Attitude Era. And so first of all, hello once again, sir. It's great to see you.
How are you, sir? Great seeing you also. Let's get right into this, buddy.
Let's get right into it indeed. Now, we always say here on Behind the Turnbuckle that we were, my time was like 1999 through 2017, 18, and that was when stars were stars were stars. We're going to start with a non-WWE star because I have said this, and you and I completely disagree on where we think this cat is. Yep. But I will say this, the crowd was ready for it. And I thought that the little thing they had with going down the hallway and the pictures and all of that was really well done. Yep. The return of MJF, because I think a lot of people, Tommy, thought he would somehow end up in the WWE. It was the best kept secret in all of contracts. Were you surprised that he came back, and what did you make of it?
I wasn't surprised he came back. I thought he was going to stay in AEW the whole time. So I'll give you my brief take on MJF. I'm trying to figure out who this guy is because they went in that room and the ring is gone, no more Burberry scarf or anything like that. And he comes out and he's dressed like Triple H. I'm watching the show and I said to my wife, that's when Triple H came back at Madison Square Garden. Remember, he was hurt all that time, the quads. That's how he looked, right? So I was there too. And I'm trying to figure out who is this character right now. And of course, he comes, the crowd goes nuts. He looks great. Right? The stomach looks great. You got a nice tan, hair's different, beard. And then he starts cutting a promo, Coach. And to me, all this guy really does to get heat, he name drops. He name dropped New Japan. And then, of course, the chairman, Vince McMahon. And you know why he name drops, Coach? To get a reaction from the crowd. And then he starts swearing, which, like, hey, look, I don't mind a couple of swear words, but when you say the F-bomb like 3 or 4 times, I don't get it. And now he's back in AEW. Then he shows the tattoo to show you that he was truly loyal to Tony Khan. Okay, when the money comes up, that's when you're truly loyal. We all know that, right, Coach? So to me, I'm trying to figure out what kind of guy he is now. Because he looks like he's going to be this tough guy. He had the boots on and everything. So he's going to be kind of like a character like Triple H and Stone Cold, a little heelish, a little baby-facish, come up with some terms so crowds can react to. No doubt, he's a great talent, great wrestler. I just don't know what he is, Coach.
Tommy, you know who he reminds me of? You just said sayings that the crowd says back to him. He had at least 4 or 5 of those. Somebody who's a little bit of a baby face, a little bit of a heel. Interesting. And somebody who has made a brilliant business move, in my opinion, because he kept his mouth shut. Clearly, he spent a ton of time in the gym because he looks amazing. I mean, it's as good a shape as he's ever been in. So somebody got in his ear and said, listen, if you're going to dictate $10 to $20 million a year, you got to look like a $10 to $20 million a year player, which he now does. But he reminds me so much of The Rock circa 1998, 1999. And at that point, The Rock was still trying to figure out who he was going to be, Tommy. He comes out in 1997, and he was wearing all these different collars and doing all these different things. When did The Rock truly become an iconic star? When he became that cool heel, when he said, I don't care about anybody, and he was edgy. And that's where I think I disagree with you a little bit, because if we're going to go back, and the WWE is doing this right now, they're going back to that edginess. They're going back to pushing the envelope just a little bit instead of the PC era that we've been in for the last 15 years. Well, that's exactly who I think MJF is going to be. But now, Tommy, here's the deal. He's got to show up every single town. And we're going to discuss later in the show who we think are actual ticket sellers here on Behind the Turnbuckle. But to me, this kid, he played everybody for a fiddle, Tommy. And now whatever he just signed for, and I would love to hear your number, to me, by keeping his mouth shut, getting himself in shape, and all these other players going back and forth, I think he's dictated a $15 million a year salary. Do you agree?
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say $10 to $15 million a year. That's what I was going to say. Yep. He definitely dictated that. And God knows Tony Khan needs him, because I can't even think of him. He needs him in the worst way. Excuse me. And the Will Ospreys of the world, who continue to do high spot after high spot, don't tell any stories in the ring. They don't do it for me. A guy like MGF could get me to say, man, I don't mind watching that match. And he needs him more than MJF needs him, because he knows WWE would be on him in a moment's notice to sign him to a WWE contract.
Sometimes people need to understand, because I went through it with The Rock. I went through it with Stone Cold several times. I went through it with, I believe, The Undertaker a couple of times. But a normal contract is 3 to 4 years. And when you are a super duper duper star, the hardest thing to do is keep your mouth shut. And if he would have kept running his mouth and saying, I'm doing this, I'm talking to this, and what he would do is show up to events and glad hand John Cena and take pictures with WWE guys. And all of a sudden, John Cena's coming, oh, this guy's really nice. He's not the arrogant jerk that he comes off as on TV. He is starting to spread his wings outside of pro wrestling, Tommy. So now when he comes back, you just hit the nail on the head. Tony Khan, no matter what price he had to pay, there was no way he can let MJF walk out the door. It couldn't happen. It couldn't happen. And MJF knew it. And so that's why I believed he said, you know what, Tony, I'll come back at Double or Nothing. Give me 5 months to get in shape, and we get this new deal done, probably 4 years, around $60 million. But when you talk about those numbers, Tommy, there's another superstar who's a female who I believe is not getting the money she deserves, or she thinks she deserves, and that's Becky Lynch. What did you make of the fact that, because we talked about it here on the show, Liv Morgan, neither one of us thought she was ready. Well, she is now the champion. Becky loses. What does that say to you?
Tells me that Becky hasn't signed a new deal. Her contract's up June 1st. So when this show airs, who knows what could be happening with her, right? So that's what it tells me. When she lost on Raw, of course, with Dominic there, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But it sounds like to me she's evaluating her worth more than the WWE thinks it's worth. And she has a pretty large ego. So it's interesting to see where this turns out, but I think she's going to be away for a little bit now.
When she was on the Ariel Helwani show and he asked her directly about this situation, she basically said, I don't think I'm going to go anywhere. I don't think I've had my last WrestleMania match. And it was a very negotiating way of answering that particular question. And here's where it gets sticky, Tommy, is you've got, and we saw it with Steve Rubin, who is a good friend of ours, people behind the scenes that are getting fired one by one by one by one. The parent company that bought WWE, it's no longer Vince in charge. And I don't even know if it's Triple H or Nick Khan in charge, to be honest with you. But a lot of the WWE OGs are getting kicked to the wayside. And I don't think the new regime values some of the talent as much as the talent thinks that they should. And I think Becky Lynch falls right into that category. And when your husband or your better half or the father to your child, whatever you want to call Seth Rollins, is now on the shelf and he's making a really, $4 to $5 million a year probably, that to me takes away a lot of the negotiating power that she could have, because I think she believes that she's on the same level as Seth. And I just don't know. I mean, to me, if you give me $2 million, I'm walking away happy. I think she turns down $2 million, and I think she did turn down $2 to $3 million. That's just my guess, Tommy.
I agree, Coach, and I think with Seth there making about $4 million and her being there, and then they offer her $2 million, she thinks it's a slap in the face. I don't think she's half as good as Charlotte. Charlotte to me is unbelievable, and there's some other superstars coming. I mean, there's Bianca Belair, and Liv Morgan's
Mhm.
coming up. Although I don't know how long she's going to hold the title for now. So Rhea Ripley, oh my God, Rhea Ripley could be a champ for 5 years for me. You know what I mean? And I still wouldn't be bored over it because I think she's entertaining. She can work in the ring, and she has a great look to me. And I think Becky sees the writing on the wall. What is she, 10 years in almost?
Yeah, but Tommy, I think that's the reason that she is holding out for this money is because those other two that you talked about are on the shelf. They're hurt. So I think in her mind, and I don't know if she has an agent, but back when I started 99 to 08, we weren't even allowed to have agents. Vince made it very clear. You don't have agents. I'm not negotiating with an agent, period. Well, those days have changed. All of these guys and girls have agents now. And so my guess is that Becky had somebody in the ear saying this. Okay, let's look at it. Charlotte's been hurt for a while. Rhea's going to be out at least till the end of the year. So they need you, Becky. We can hold out. And Tommy, back when I started, and obviously inflation and things change, but there was only a couple of dudes that were north of that $1.5, $2 million a year plateau. So for a female back in the 2000s to ever get $2 million a year, they would have been eating that up. And now $2 million is not enough. Where have we gone, Tommy? Where have we gone that $2 million of when you're an OG? I think it's bad advice and probably mismanagement on Becky's part to turn down whatever. And here's the other part, Tommy. Do you think there's a universe where Tony Khan says, I'll back up the truck? We just paid Monet or whatever they call her over there, and she has been an absolute disaster. So that may hurt Becky because they're already paying her a bunch of money, and she hasn't moved the needle one bit. What do you think about that move?
I think Tony would jump on. I think he would jump on Becky in a moment's notice, no doubt about it. And Becky and Monet are really two different kind of characters, if you will. Becky's a hard worker. Monet doesn't seem like she works too hard. And believe me, I watched that pay-per-view, Coach. The needle didn't move. She won the TBS title, whatever that title is, right? Another made-up title. And the crowd was crickets. They didn't care. Nobody cared, Coach. And when the crowd doesn't care, that's got to make Tony think, wow, this is her first match, and they give her the title. And their crowd doesn't react at all. So they're going to have to turn her heel. It's definitely, she's going to turn on the crowd and everything and make her hate her because she's not very well liked, Coach. Not at all. And I don't think she's great at all. So I never thought she was this whole bag of chips that everybody thought she was here at Sasha Banks. So, and she was difficult to work with too.
It goes way. I mean, she was there when I went back in 17 and 18. And this is not a personal attack on her because I don't know her that well at all. I just know what I saw and I know what I've seen. And there are certain superstars that over the years act a certain way backstage and they get a certain reputation and they can't get rid of that. And Sasha had that. So when you heard some of those numbers that she was asking for, WWE or AEW, I was blown away that either side was even entertaining a deal the magnitude of what she reportedly got. Because I agree with you. She's never been more than you can throw her into a nice match, maybe a title match here or there. To me, that's all she's ever been. She's never been the star that Becky is, or that Charlotte is, or that Rhea is. But she thinks that she is. She thinks she is. And that's a problem sometimes. That's a problem. I think when you're backed into a corner and you don't have the star power that you want and you just lost some and you need momentum, sometimes the best thing, and we've seen many people, it happened many times where guys get brought back because, we need them. We need them. Well, right now, WWE and the powers that be are telling certain talent, we don't need you. You're not as important to us because all the salaries have changed. Now, a couple other things from King of the Ring that happened over the weekend, because Saudi Arabia is really, Tommy, starting to become the fight capital of the world. We just saw Tyson Fury and Usyk. And when Vince signed this deal 7 or 8 years ago, I remember that was kind of the year and a half that I came back in between my ESPN days. And I remember he got so much heat for it because, we can't do business with Saudis. And now everybody is doing business with the Saudis because that's where the most money is. Their first show, Tommy, 7 years ago or whenever it was, a female was not even allowed to travel to the country to be on the show. So at least the country is moving forward in that aspect.
Yeah, even the TV production.
Right. Like not even production.
Women couldn't
But
go.
if you're going to give me Gunther and Nia Jax as your winner, and I'm supposed to get excited for the next 2 months until SummerSlam because Triple H adds a stipulation, that did nothing for me. You?
No, it did nothing for me either. And I like Gunther, but I don't think he can carry it for 2 months. And personally, by the time SummerSlam comes, I don't think Damian Priest will be the champ. I think it's going to be Drew. I think Drew's going to win at the next pay-per-view, Clash of the Castle. I think it's time for Drew. I think I don't know how much Damian has moved the needle as being the champ for me, and I like Damian Priest, but it just seems like he's stuck in that dumb group, the Judgment Days, which has been broken up since Rhea Ripley, and then you're cutting a promo backstage and bring him to the clubhouse. Clubhouse, what is this like? What are we, 12 years old? What do you got, a dartboard and Jackson? He said clubhouse, Toad. Come on, guys, we're writing this stuff.
We talk about it all the time that when you're doing a show, Tommy, every single week, there's going to be promos that hit and promos that miss. And it will always go back to they should be taking time off right now. There should have been time off between WrestleMania and now to get your ducks in a row because it feels like right now they're just reaching at things. We're just throwing stuff against the wall. Let's see if it sticks. Now, the one thing that did stick for me before we get to the most pointless first segment of Raw ever is one guy that absolutely stands out every time he walks out there, and that to me is Logan Paul. And that to me is really smart booking. When you go champion versus champion, then you have a fact where Logan Paul can still lose, but he still wins because they just put Cody's title on the line and he doesn't lose his championship. And to me, this kid is oozing star power, and every time, no matter who he gets into the ring with, he shows out. And I thought he was one of the stars of the night.
Coach, every match, that kid hasn't had a bad match. Think of that. Now, he's only here for a part-time, right? He's not a full-time guy. But when he's in, he's in. He's working out at the Performance Center. He's going over stuff like Hurricane Helms told us that he works with Logan, and nobody works harder than Logan, and it proves it in the ring. If half the guys would take his philosophy, this roster would be unbelievable, Coach. Him and Cody went toe-to-toe, and they told a story. This guy never knew how to tell a story in his life. But working with Hurricane, doing it right, not making a fool out of himself in the ring, and working his butt off, I'll tell you, if he was full-time, he'd be a champion, a big-time champion for a long time. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
What does full-time actually mean? Because I think that's where the WWE and pro wrestling as a whole needs to figure it out. Because let's just say, use the TV show Friends, for example. They did 22 episodes a year. 22 out of 52 weeks, which means they were not new for 30 weeks. So you had a chance to miss them. They had a chance to go do other projects, which then makes them bigger stars. That's what Logan Paul does. He's doing other projects. He's doing certain things with other companies that makes him a star and not just grinding it out every single week with meaningless matches on Raw or SmackDown. And to your point, if other stars could do it, should do it, but they can't do it, Tommy, because they focus on every single house show match instead of on themselves as a brand. That's how Logan has really separated himself from everybody else. He thinks of himself as a brand. That's what The Rock used to do. It's what Stone Cold Steve Austin used to do. How do I make myself the biggest brand? Not the best wrestler or the best mic guy. By the way, we always look for little things within the thing. The fact that Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair were the opening match on that pay-per-view, you never want to be the opening match. I'm telling you, that is an investment that they are second-guessing every single week. Every single week. Looks like $1 million bucks.
Coach. They made the preview show. They made the preview show. They didn't make the pay-per-view.
I remember when I used to host the preview show. If you were on the preview show, it was literally a placeholder, Tommy, for if you needed 3 minutes, it would be 3 minutes, 4 minutes, or whatever it was. But it was never something to be featured to then pay it forward on the pay-per-view. It was a throwaway. Jade Cargill, $1 million signing. She's a throwaway now with Bianca Belair. Let's now pivot, Tommy, because this episode is titled Stars, Stars, Stars. And whether people are a star or are not a star, that remains to be seen. But I know this, that every single Monday night on Monday Night Raw, which still should be 2 hours, you're never going to get me off of that. But the first segment has always been, Tommy, all the way back when you and I were in our prime, about either a red hot start or setting something up future in the night that I can't wait to see. That's what it's always supposed to be. I nearly fell asleep. With Gunther, Damian, Drew, who didn't even talk about them. He talked about CM Punk, and then Braun Strowman in his second reiteration of himself. You had those guys, and they sat around all day, Tommy, saying, that's the segment I want to blow the roof off after King and Queen of the Ring. That's where I'm going to start. Your thoughts?
Gunther started it, Coach. He came in with the crowd, and he's talking, and I'm the king of the ring, and I'm going to be at SummerSlam, and then the music hits. It's Damian Priestley. They come face to face, and Damian starts barking, I'm going to teach you the business. I'm going to teach you the business of working in the ring and doing stuff like that. And then Gunther, and the crowd is crickets. They have no idea what the hell Damian Priestley's talking about. And Gunther is just sitting there quiet, and it was like you've been in the ring with promos. When something's not working right, you got to move ahead to the next thing where there's going to be a payoff. Maybe you hit that music early and Drew comes in the ring. I don't know if that happened or what, but Drew comes in. The first thing he talks about is CM Punk. What does that got to do? He's the number one contender, Coach. Why wouldn't you just jump in Damian's face and not even pay any mind to Gunther? It was three guys there talking about nothing. And I dare anybody to tell me what the hell did they talk about? And what did it do for the show? Because the crowd didn't give two craps about it. It was unbelievable. And then Braun comes in because the other two stooges are out there, JD and Finn. I don't even know what happened to Finn Balor, man. He used to be so good. And he comes in because the next match is Braun against that JD guy.
Well, Tommy, Finn Balor reportedly just signed a new big deal, so I guess he's locked up for more, Sunday Night Heat matches. But everything you just said, I'm just laughing over here because I've never, and I love how Drew McIntyre's used social media and he goes after CM Punk. Leave it there because CM Punk cannot fight right now. So why would you continue to address somebody who is not healthy enough to walk out and fight against you? He's just not.
The payout was the Strowman beats the hell out of him, but he ends up chasing after JD the rest of the night, and then they bring it out in the end. We'll talk about a little bit between the cage match between Liv and Becky. So
that brings us to that, Tommy. But was that story enough to lock me in for 3 hours? Because I know when I used to sit with you in those writers' meetings, and we'd go over every single piece of Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. And we knew exactly what was going to happen. And I remember sometimes be like, man, this is going to be amazing. I can't wait for this to happen and that run in and this. This had to be 3 hours of nothing. If you're sitting in that writer's room, if they still do it the same way, I don't know. And you say, this is going to tie me in for 3 hours? This is going to log me in on Memorial Day night, which usually has a pretty good rating because people are home. It's a holiday. And that's what you're going to do? Sometimes people need to get out of their own way.
First thing I did when I was Drew, I jumped in Damian's face. I'm the number one contender. Gunther's not the number one. You got to face me first and in my hometown. And then I jumped to Gunther and I'm like, I'll take care of you later. No heat. No heat. All Gunther kept doing is holding that dumb crown and just shaking his head. Like, come on, guy. How are you going to promote a match going to SummerSlam facing whoever the champ's going to be at that time? You're going to do promos like that?
I know. I'm just not a Gunther guy, Tommy. I'm not a Gunther guy. I'm not an old school style. I've never liked the old school style. Like the Steven Regal, who I used to have to work with a lot. I never enjoyed his style of wrestling. Nothing against him. I know he had a good career, but Gunther has the same style to me. The very basic outfits. The doesn't really fit into 2024, in my opinion. Like a Logan Paul does, for example. And that's the kind I like. So I don't know right now. But Tommy, this is nothing new, is it? Every time we get to the end of May or June, every single year, there's always a lull because we have now this. I think this is the longest amount of time between big pay-per-views from WrestleMania April 1st all the way to almost the end of August. So it's almost like five months. So how do you get there? Again, take some time off, Vince. So this brings us to this, because I was thinking, Tommy, last night as you and I and producer man were texting back and forth on who are actually the ones that would sell tickets now. When you put a show on sale, who are you putting on there that you go, you know what, I'm going to sell this out? This person or persons is going to sell tickets. And I want to do our top 5. And then if you're watching this at home, put it into the comments or give us on Behind the Turnbuckle on X and let us know who your 5 top ticket sellers are. And let's start with our number 5, Tommy. Who's your number 5 you think is the biggest ticket seller in pro wrestling? Doesn't just have to be WWE.
Okay, when you texted me this, Coach, I had a really hard time with this because I didn't know if we were going back to old superstars, but you said it was current, even WWE and AEW. And you're going to find this unbelievable, but my 5th was Cody Rhodes. And the reason why is I like Cody a lot. I just don't find him very exciting. He cuts the same promo all the time. Sometimes he borders on babyface heel a little bit, the way he talks with the big words and everything like that. So, and I love the way he dresses and everything. But for me to spend my hard-earned money and be entertained, Cody's number 5 for me, Coach.
All right, I guess that's fair. Once you explain it, and this is the beauty of having a deep roster or needing to have a deep roster, because somebody like you may think Cody's number 5. I may have him higher on my list. My number 5, because I felt like I needed to have a female superstar out of respect for where they've come in my top 5. And that to me is Charlotte right now. And a lot of my thought process, Tommy, is the fact that she's been gone. And if I'm talking about who's going to sell tickets moving forward, if Charlotte came back right now and you threw her back into the mix, I want to see that because I've missed her. And I've missed seeing her and her star power and what she's about. So for me, Charlotte right now would be my number 5.
I'm a big Charlotte fan, and I totally agree with you on that, Coach.
All right, give me your number 4.
All right, my number 4, Logan Paul. I am a big fan of Logan Paul now. I think nobody works harder than him when it's time for him to have a match. He knows how to cut a promo. He knows how to get under your skin. He goes to events like UFC pay-per-views, and he brings the belt with the title with him. He's not embarrassed. He's promoting WWE in a subtle way just by carrying that United States Championship belt to show him, I'm the champ. And when he wrestles, he puts on a show, Coach. And I don't mind spending my money watching him because I know he's going to put on a show like no show ever. And Logan Paul is my number 4.
Tommy, I actually agree with you. Do you know who doesn't agree with you yet? The WWE fan base. Because I'm going to take this back to when The Rock left the very first time full time. And I had a conversation. I said, hey, Rock, how come you're not coming to Monday Night Raw and then shooting your movies the rest of the week and just really grinding for the next 2 or 3 years? And he's admitted over the years, Tommy, that he got bad advice from his agents about getting smaller and not embracing his heritage and all that. And also saying leaving pro wrestling behind. And the fans remember that. And I think right now, the reason I don't agree with you that he's in the top 5 is because the fans are like, hey, listen, if he's not willing to give us all of him, I'm not buying the tickets for him yet. I think they love him, but I think they still have to get to a point where they say, all right, he's one of us, even though he's not here all the time. That's the only reason I disagree with you. The only one.
All right, here's my little counter to that is a guy like Austin Theory. How come he's not like Logan Paul? How come he can't put a match on like Logan Paul? How come he can't promote a match like Logan Paul does, right? Logan Paul puts out, man. He is really a really smart, talented guy.
Yes. Tommy, you know this. There are levels to this game. There are levels to this game. And not everybody's on the same level. Is LeBron James the same as the 12th guy on the end of the Celtics bench? No. So you ask the question, sometimes people just aren't able to. or they don't have the right psychology to be able to, or they don't have the right agents working with them to be able to. There's a lot of factors, but talent is the very first one. And Logan has talent oozing out of his ears. My number 4, Tom, and you're going to see a theme here, is Roman Reigns when he comes back. Because he has been gone, he's going to be gone, and he's doing what most should be able to do, and what the WWE should strategically start doing is that's giving certain guys off, make you forget about them, and then when they come back, put them on house shows. That'll be a key to see if he does them. But then that sells the tickets. We haven't seen Roman in 6 months or 4 months or whatever it is. So for me, when Roman comes back, he'll be a hot ticket seller wherever he is. He's my number 4.
Okay. My number 3 is Charlotte Flair. I would pay any day to see Charlotte Flair work in the ring. She's great at what she does. She's very entertaining, whether she's a heel or a babyface. I find her entertaining both ways. And she works hard at her craft, and she's a Flair. And she has the natural ability, Coach, to get in there and scuff it up with you and go any way you want in that ring. You want to mat wrestle, I'll do it. I want to jump off the top of the rope. You want to cut a promo, she can do it. She's still number 1 to me. I like Rhea Ripley. I can't wait till those two go at it. But right now, Charlotte Flair is still the queen for me, Coach. And I made her my number 3.
It's really hard for me to not go back all the time because this business for you and for myself has been all about the memories and the moments and the people and the relationships. And I met her when she was such a young girl, high school, maybe before high school. And then she started traveling when she got to be 17 or 18 with her dad, who was trying to make up time that he had missed, like a lot of us do when you're out there traveling on the road. And I remember, Tommy, she never even really wanted to be a WWE superstar. It wasn't, I mean, she was a volleyball player, and she was a really good volleyball player. She was a great athlete, but she never really wanted to follow her dad into the business. And then to see where she is now, man, what a waste that would have been if she didn't come into the business. All right, my number 3, Tommy, is your number 5, and that's Cody Rhodes. And I had to throw somebody in that is at every single house show, because the house shows or the live events are still the lifeblood of this business. And the TV now leads to house shows. It used to be the other way around. The house shows led to TV. And if I'm watching on Monday Night Raw, I've got to see the same guys at my Civic Center on Friday night or Saturday night, or I'm just not buying those tickets. That's just the way the world is now. And Cody is a grinder. And even though he may say the same things at certain times, Tommy, he's a guy that's going to show up at 4 shows a week. He's going to give you his best. So for me, he's a guy I can count on as a fan. I'm going to buy his ticket. He's my number 3.
Good choice, Coach. I mean, nobody grinds more than Cody Rhodes. He said, give me that title. I'll go anywhere you need me to go, whether it be Savannah or San Diego or L.A. or Little Rock, Arkansas. He's there for the house show, and that's a big payoff for him.
You ever been to Little Rock, Arkansas, Tommy?
Yeah, I've been to Little Rock. You know all about it, Coach. I spent more time than I needed there while you were on a plane eating steak, and my wife not answering my phone. Very good. I love it.
It was Michelle Carlucci.
Ever.
Oh, my God. All right, who's your number 2, Tommy?
The head of the table, Roman Reigns. He's number 2. The man, I mean, who did what he did in how many years of holding that championship belt? I know Bruno did it, but it was in a much smaller scale than where the WWE is now than it is then. Then it was territorial. It was just the East Coast. This is across the United States. He's a huge star. He's even got a sneaker now from Air Jordan that's coming out, I think, in January or something like that. He's created himself to be a huge star. And he's another guy. He's away now. But when he comes back, that place is going to flip out. They're going to go nuts. And he's got charisma. He can work in the ring. He's one of those Samoan guys that gets it. And he learned, I mean, come on. Look at the ancestry of this guy.
It's so hard to believe with the last 10 years of Look Like Tommy, because there was a time where people booed him out of the building because they felt like Vince McMahon was shoving him down our throat. And that, oh, he's got no charisma. He's got none of this. And he's a perfect example. As if you find the right gimmick and it works and you feed into it and you buy into it and you give it time, it can work. but nobody ever gives it time. Because Roman, when he did those 4 straight WrestleMania main events, they booed. Like, he came out, they booed him. Like, it was awful. Nobody wanted to see him. And now to see him where he is now, and his agents have done a phenomenal job just positioning him as a star. He's an absolute star. My number 2, and hear me out on this, Tommy, is The Rock. He showed up in January, sold out every single place he went, whether it was SmackDown or whether it was Raw. I truly believe this with where the movie industry is going, that he came back not only because he missed the business, Tommy, but because he realized I could make a ton of money. He got $30 million. And I think he's going to come back in August when he's done with his current movie, because he had a blast doing it. And he knows that if he shows up, he can make tens of millions of more money doing this. So to me, he's absolutely in this category. And tell me I'm wrong, Tommy, with what we saw from January to April, that if they bring him back for the lead up to SummerSlam, we're not going to see more bangers, more great nights, and more sellouts.
Highest ratings ever. I mean, the guy, he changed everything for that 2 months for WWE. He put pro wrestling back on the map, Coach. And he carried the ball and ran with it, and ended up being a great payoff, as we all saw. The Rock is just a really smart marketing guy, working with Brian. He knows what he has to do and how to do it, and he can change in a moment's notice. If something's not working, he can flip it.
We've seen that many, many times. Speaking of change, I don't know if anybody see he's been training for an MMA movie as well, and they had pictures of him like dressed up as the character. He looks just like him. It's bananas. I can't even imagine how much time, Tommy, he's spending in the makeup chair, because he had to cover his tattoo. And back in the day, it took him 2 hours every day to cover the tattoo. 2 hours. And he finally said, screw it, I'm not covering it. He had to cover it for this movie. That's dedication. That's dedication. All right. Who is your number 1 ticket seller right here now today?
My number 1, coaches, and this is spending your hard-earned money. My number 1 is, and it was a toss-up. I had a toss-up here, but I went with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, number 1, because the man has been main event box office since he came out of his mother's womb. The guy's always been a main event guy. He works hard. He brings the people in. When you say Brock Lesnar, you know that's going to be a huge match or a huge pay-per-view. I had him and Rock on the same level. Obviously, I'm a huge Rock fan, but I put Brock in there because I think everybody think I would say The Rock. So I wanted to say Brock. And as you know, everything Brock does is up here, Coach. And he's my number 1. If I'm going to spend my money on somebody and I want to see somebody work in the ring, it's Brock Lesnar. And by the way, he shoots in that ring, and that's what people like to see.
I've never been around a more scary human being. And with everything that's gone on the last several months, if he did come back, and I do believe he will be back at some point after everything kind of washes over, when he comes out for the very first time, it'll be a mixed bag of reaction, but it'll be unbelievably hyped. It just will be. And for anybody that's never been around this dude, you're scared for your own physical well-being, because he's fast, he's strong, he's big, he's dangerous. And he's been the only person I've ever seen, Tommy, more than The Rock, more than Stone Cold, that's never been able to dictate his terms in every single contract negotiation he's ever had. Period. End of story. If he wants time off, there you go. You want $5 million a year? There you go. You want to go to the UFC and fight? There you go. You want to come back? There you go. He did it all. And once they figure out what everything that's going on, and obviously we're not involved in it, but I believe somewhere down the road he will be back. My number 1, Tommy, and I know you will not agree with this, and I want you to come back at me and tell me I'm wrong and then explain yourself. But my number 1, after what I saw in the ring at Double or Nothing, and I don't watch AEW, Tommy, I don't, but this dude entertains me. He's entertained me since the day where he was not even MJF. And he literally, for the last however long he's been off TV, has been very strategic in what he's doing. So now AEW they weren't even selling 4,000 tickets, Tommy, to these live events. I guarantee you're going to see an uptick for this entire summer if he's willing to do live events because of MJF and his mic work. He's good enough as a wrestler, but you care about him because he's somebody, Tommy, that they want to be. And if they want to be like him or like The Rock circa 1998, you're buying a ticket. And in 1998 and 1999, every house show was led by The Rock and was sold out every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I think MJF has that ability if they literally put his face on every billboard that they have. Will they do that? That's the question.
Absolutely. It should be the MJF Summer Tour. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be everywhere. The MJF Summer Tour is kicking off here, starting in June and going all the way to August. And that's how you get people interested in the product. Makes you want to watch the TV tapings. Makes you want to watch Dynamite. I'd put him on all three shows. I mean, at one time, he was just working Dynamite, and that's it. I'd put him on all three. I'm the king now. I'm back. That's the way he should. That's the way he should be treated, and that's the way he should portray himself when he gets in the ring. I don't need to just to be on one show. It's because of me we're going to get to the next level. So, I like MJF. It's just some of his things that he does I can't figure out yet, and maybe I will. He'll grow on me a little more. But I can see him being your number one because he's got it. I mean, coming back on that pay-per-view, he looked like $1 million, Coach.
Oh, my God. It's one thing to come back, but you've got to come back and look the part. And that's where a lot of superstars miss the boat. You know what I mean? And the other part, Tommy, is I would love to have been behind the scenes to see if there was ever a meeting with Triple H or Nick Khan, or if they ever even made him an offer, because with what's going on right now and the Saudi money that's invested in all of this, I find it very hard to believe that they wouldn't have at least thought about going and matching that $15 or $20 million a year. You imagine bringing him over and he comes out for the first time? Oh my God. But who knows? Will he ever tell us a story? I don't know. But do you think WWE was ever serious about him?
Oh, I think they were very serious. I think it was just hard to get to him at the time. He did the movie The Iron Claw, which was about the Von Erichs. He was in that movie. That's good for him. But I think Triple H, if he said no to AEW, and who knows who puts up the blocks of maybe not being able to talk to MJF. MJF seems like he's a huge Triple H fan. You see the way he came in the ring on the pay-per-view. So I would think Triple H, if he grabbed MJF, that would put the nail in the coffin for AEW, and I think he knew that. He was going for the kill, and I think it just didn't happen. Tony Khan wasn't letting him go away.
He said 2 years ago he was going to break the bank, one way or the other. I mean, he projected what he was going to do because he saw the writing on the wall. And just like this episode is called Stars, 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 we will stand on this. There has never been and there never will be a substitute for star power. That's just what the business is built on. It's always been built on it, and you're seeing it right now. Those that can and those that simply cannot. All right, Tommy, that's going to do it for this week. Next week, DDP is scheduled to be here. What are you looking forward to with that?
I never really met DDP. I remember he came in for an audition. Bruce Pritchard brought him in one time, and I just met him once as we were shooting him. Really nice guy. I'm really interested to pick his brain about the yoga stuff and what does he think about the business today. And so many of the old school wrestlers he has helped with their health and drug issues and everything like that. I can't wait to talk to him.
It's going to be a really, really cool conversation. And we're going to be talking about a lot of different things, as Tommy just alluded to. And that's what this show is truly all about. We can go any way that we want to go. As we sign off this week, we did want to, Big Tommy, producer man, and myself, want to send out a big time thank you to all of you out there, because less than 3 months ago, we started this journey and said we didn't know what it was going to be. And you've already gotten us to a point that we thought it would take us years and years to get to, and we've done it in less than 3 months. You guys are enjoying what we're doing. We're just trying to tell stories and give our expertise as best we can. So I know, Tommy, you wanted to say a quick thank you to the fans at home, because we've really grown very, very quickly.
Grown very quickly, and I want to thank everybody that has tuned in and subscribed. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. Me, I've never done this in my life. So being a producer behind the scenes and producing guys like Coach back in the day, this is a great opportunity for me, and I love it. And I just want to grow every week and just to give you guys stuff that you've never even heard of before. So we are the inside of this business, folks. Nobody else is like us. Like Coach says, almost 45 years of experience in pro wrestling, sports entertainment, or whatever you want to call it.
And we're going to shoot with you. We're going to tell you exactly how it is, how it was, how they do it. It's not a dirt sheet take. We were actually there and saw it with our own two eyes and experienced it, and we did it. And that's a huge difference. And it's not slighting any other of the million pro wrestling shows out there. But sometimes when you've been in it, it's just a perspective nobody else can give. So, again, thank you. And that's going to do it for this week's episode. Enjoy your week. We're going to head into June for Big Tommy C. For Producer Man Behind the Scenes, I am the Coach. Thanks for hanging out and tuning in every single week behind the Turnbuckle.